The wealthy woman didn't even look at the single dad when she took his VIP seat. "I'm sitting here." Daniel looked at the seat number, then at his boarding pass. "Ma'am, that's my seat." She rolled her eyes. "I'm sure you can sit somewhere else." Daniel glanced at his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, who was standing beside him with a small backpack. "Excuse me, but we specifically paid for these seats." The woman crossed her arms. "Do you know who I am?" Daniel shook his head. She smiled arrogantly. "You're better off not knowing." Several passengers watched the exchange, but nobody wanted to interfere. Daniel didn't argue. He simply called the flight attendant. "There's a problem with my seat." The attendant checked his boarding pass and immediately looked uncomfortable. "Sir, you're correct. This is your assigned seat." The woman sighed. "Just move him." The attendant shook her head. "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because this section is reserved for the passenger listed on that ticket." The woman became angry. "I'll make a complaint." Daniel calmly took Lily's hand. "Come on, sweetheart." The attendant stopped him. "Sir, please wait." She checked something on her tablet. Then her expression changed. "Mr. Carter, there's been an update." Daniel frowned. "What kind of update?" The attendant whispered something to her supervisor. 5 minutes later, the aircraft doors were still open. Passengers were becoming impatient. The wealthy woman stood in the aisle. "What is taking so long?" The captain's voice suddenly came through the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a passenger verification issue." The woman looked annoyed. "That's ridiculous." A ground manager entered the aircraft. He looked directly at Daniel. "Mr. Carter?" "Yes. We need to speak with you privately." The woman laughed. "Finally, someone is going to remove him." The manager ignored her. "Sir, your private charter connection has been confirmed." Daniel looked confused. "Private charter?" The manager nodded. "Your company arranged it after the original flight was delayed." The woman stopped smiling. The manager continued. "Your VIP seat on this aircraft was reserved because you're the owner of the company operating today's route." Silence spread through the cabin. Daniel looked at Lily. She whispered, "Daddy, do we own the plane?" Daniel smiled awkwardly. "No, sweetheart." The woman stared at him. "You're the owner?" Daniel nodded. "I didn't know this flight was operated by my company." The manager smiled. "You don't usually travel with the executive team." The woman suddenly became nervous. "Wait." The manager turned toward her. "Ma'am, your ticket is not valid for this aircraft." "What?" "You boarded using another passenger's boarding pass." Her face went pale. "I bought that ticket. Our system says otherwise." Daniel finally understood. She hadn't simply taken his seat. She had taken someone else's identity. Security officers appeared at the aircraft door. The woman protested. "This is a mistake!" The manager shook his head. "We have verification records." She looked at Daniel. "You knew this?" "No." "Then why didn't you tell them?" Daniel calmly answered. "Because I didn't know anything." She stared at him. "You could have embarrassed me in front of everyone." Daniel looked around the cabin. "You embarrassed yourself when you took someone else's seat." Security escorted her off the plane. Lily watched through the window. "Daddy, where's she going?" Daniel smiled. "She's going to answer some questions." The passengers began whispering. One man approached Daniel. "Sir, I owe you an apology." "For what?" "I thought you were just some ordinary dad." Daniel laughed. "I am." The man looked confused. "But you're rich." Daniel shrugged. "That doesn't make me better than anyone." The captain announced that the flight would continue shortly. Daniel and Lily were offered the VIP seats again. This time, nobody questioned them. Before takeoff, the flight attendant approached. "Mr. Carter, I apologize for the situation." Daniel smiled. "It's okay." She glanced at Lily. "Your daughter handled everything very calmly." Daniel looked proudly at her. "She gets that from her mother." The attendant smiled. Then Daniel's phone rang. It was his assistant. "Sir, there's one more issue." "What happened?" "The woman who took your seat is claiming she was invited by one of our executives." Daniel frowned.
"Who?"
The assistant hesitated. "Your chief financial officer." Daniel's expression changed. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Daniel looked toward the aircraft door. The woman was gone. But suddenly, the seat incident didn't seem like an accident. Someone had arranged for her to board that flight. Someone had wanted access to Daniel. And now Daniel realized something even more troubling. The stolen boarding pass wasn't the real plan. The real target had been his daughter. Daniel immediately pulled Lily closer. "Daddy? Stay beside me." "Why?" Daniel looked toward the cockpit. "Because I think someone knew exactly where we'd be today." The plane began moving toward the runway. Daniel's phone received one final message from an unknown number. "You should have let her keep your seat." Daniel stared at the screen. Then he looked at Lily. For the first time that day, he wasn't worried about losing a seat. He was worried about who was waiting for them when the plane landed.